Hi, first grade readers. Today's story is called Going Places by Peter and Paul Reynolds. What do you think this book is going to be about? Maybe they're traveling somewhere. Very good. We have been reading fiction and nonfiction books. The author made this story up. Do you think this is fiction or nonfiction? What makes you think that? I think this book is fiction because I know fiction stories are made up stories. If we look at the illustration, we can tell it's made up because kids really couldn't take a go-kart on a mountain such as this. In this story, we're going to meet Raphael and Amaya and they are in a go-kart race with the rest of their friends in class. On the title page, you will see a van going to school with lots of kits for making go-karts. Let's read to find out what happens. Raphael had been waiting all year for the Going Places contest, a chance to build a go-kart, race it, and win. When their teacher announced who would like the first kit, Raphael's hand shot up. The rest of the class watched enviously as Raphael walked back to his seat with his kit. Mrs. Shanda assured them, "Don't worry, you're all getting one." It said the class was watching enviously as Raphael walked back to his seat. What does enviously mean? It means to be jealous or want something someone else has. Why do you think they feel that way? They wanted their kit too, and they wanted to be the first one like Raphael. And they're all exactly alike. So each kit is exactly the same. The kit came with a set of precise instructions. That made Raphael feel happy. He was very good at following instructions. Raphael hammered, glued, nailed, and assembled his kit. His go-kart looked just like the one in the directions. He was feeling quite proud. Raphael wondered how his classmate Maya was doing. She lived right next door. What have we learned about Raphael so far in the story? We learned that he has been waiting for this contest all year long, and he was excited. We've learned that he's really good at following directions, and that he was able to build his go-kart to look exactly like the one in the directions. Now let's see what happens when he goes and visits Maya next door. He peered over the fence. "Hey, Maya, you haven't even started?" Maya didn't respond. She was so intent on watching the bird in front of her and quickly sketching it that she didn't even notice Raphael. Then she put down her pencil and stared at the bird dreamily. Raphael shrugged and let her be. The next morning, Raphael checked back in to see how Amaya was doing. "Wow, what is that?" he asked. Maya grinned. "You like it?" Raphael responded slowly. "Yeah, extremely cool. But, Maya, there's just one little problem. That's not a go-kart." did Amaya get her idea for her creation? Yeah, she got it from watching the bird. How is her creation different from the go-kart Raphael made? It's different because she created her own with her own imagination instead of the directions that were given, like Raphael used to make his go-kart. Let's see what happens. Maya smiled. Who said it had to be a go-kart? Raphael was confused. The set of instructions inside the box were for a go-kart. But then again, they didn't say it had to be a go-kart. He looked again at Maya's contraption. After a moment, he grinned. I get it. Hey, Maya, I really want to win this race. The instructions never said we couldn't team up either. And so they did, working late into the evening. What do you think Raphael and Amaya will create? Ooh, let's find out. The next day, everyone gathered for the big race. Each go-kart was a perfect replica of the other. Look at all the go-karts. What do you notice about all the go-karts? They all look the same, and they all look like the directions. So what do you think a replica is? Very good. A replica is something that is the exact same as something else. Except one. One of the kids laughed. Looks like you had trouble with the Going Places instructions. You're going places, all right. You're going to lose. Take a look at Amaya and Raphael's contraption. How did they combine their ideas to create a go-kart different from everyone else's? They used the ideas from the instructions that Raphael to build the base, but they added wings and a propeller from Amaya's idea from watching the bird. Amaya and Raphael didn't even have time to respond because the announcer's big, boomy voice called out, "Attention racers, start your engines. 4, 3, 2, 1. A buzzer sounded. And they're off! While the other go-karts disappeared in a cloud of dust, Maya just sat there in their motionless vehicle. Raphael shouted over the roar of the engines and cheering crowds. Maya, what are we waiting for? No worries, Raphael, Maya answered. Flaps down, throttle up. And now they took off into the air. The other contestants looked up in amazement. Maya and Raphael hovered and then sped past them all. Before long, Maya and Raphael coasted across the finish line to the cheers of the waiting crowd. They kept rolling clear across the race grounds. Maya slammed the brakes, stopping just short of the lake at the edge of the school field. Raphael noticed a startled frog leap up from a lily pad and dive into the water. He raised his eyebrow and looked at Maya. She smiled. Raphael, are you thinking what I'm thinking? Raphael nodded. What do you think Raphael and Maya will build next? Maybe something like a frog. Let's see. Oh, if you guessed something like a frog, you were right. Isn't that an interesting contraption? All right, thinkers. We know that made-up stories are called fiction stories. Our made-up stories have a problem in them, and we usually find out that problem at the beginning. And then at the end, there's usually a solution. What do you notice was the problem in the story? The problem was all the go-karts were exactly the same if they followed the directions. So how did Maya and Raphael work together to solve their problem? Yeah, they combined their ideas from the instructions and their ideas from their imagination to create a new contraption. Very good, friends. Thank you for coming and enjoying my story time today. You may go on to your next activity.